Verse 736. To pass away instantly after birth, this is not the teaching of the Buddhas, nor is there the uninterruptedness of all things. As discrimination moves about, one is born in the various paths. So to pass away instantly after birth, not after death, after birth, this is not the teaching of the Buddhas. Well, you wonder whose teaching it is. To pass away instantly after birth. Birth and then immediately death. What teaching is that? What could this possibly be referring to? Well, clearly it's not birth in the usual sense. It's birth in the sense that it's been spoken of before in these verses. And it's birth as it applies to our ongoing situation. And this has been touched on in recent verses when we talk about transmigration. What is it that's transmigrating? It's the attention once again. The attention is constantly flitting around like a gadfly, flitting in one thing and then on another. Whatever it flits onto is a birth, because we enter into a particular mode of experience depending on what the attention is resting on. It's not that I am still here and my attention is somewhere else. I am the attention. Wherever the attention is where I am. So whatever the attention is dwelling on is one of the various paths mentioned in this verse. Before I say more about that though, what about this other phrase, nor is there the uninterruptedness of all things? Well, this is referring back to what I was saying. It's not that there's somebody here experiencing lots of different things. There isn't that continuity of some constant self uninterruptedly experiencing things. There is the transmigration from one mode of experience to another. That's what's going on. So we need to have some understanding, some purview of where our attention rests, because that is what we're inhabiting. That is the realm of experiencing. That is one of the various paths that we're resting on, that we're dwelling in. Basically, we have to become mindful of the attention. We seem to think that we can get away with it. We seem to think that we can indulge the attention, let the attention do what it wants, because I'm all right. So we can allow the attention to get caught up in all sorts of daydreams fueled by all sorts of sordid motivations, perhaps motivations concerned with anxiety, with power fantasies, with revenge fantasies, with aspirational fantasies. This would be my main concern. It isn't about so much what we might call the external world, because then we get into rather superficial morality and get into superficial concerns about, is it okay to watch horror films and so on, or should we be listening to classical music instead of pop music and all this sort of stuff. It gets a bit too precious. What we need to be concerned with is where our attention is in terms of our inner world. What's it dwelling on? What's it focusing on? Because this is the area where transformation takes place. And doesn't take place by reining it in an overt behavioral sense. What we're doing with our mind, with the attention, is more important than what we're doing with our bodies. True morality is the morality of the mind. This is the work of Sila, of the Buddhist ethical training, one aspect of the triple training. So as enlightenment practitioners, we ask ourselves, what is our mind dwelling on? What is the attention? What mental objects is the attention focusing on? What mental objects is the attention fueling? It's these that we have to apply what are known as the 5 hindrances. And it might be worthwhile just quickly looking at these. I don't think I've looked at the 5 hindrances in this series of videos. They probably deserve a video to themselves. But they represent areas where the attention might dwell, mental areas. The first one is sensual desire. Are our thoughts dwelling on desire? Sexual desire could be hankering after possessions and wondering how we're going to go about getting ownership of things. But I think a great deal, certainly of the male mindset, is concerned with sexual fantasies, sexual desire. And it isn't a question of eliminating this, but becoming aware of it and asking ourselves, is this what we want to be dwelling on all the time? And the second is ill will. This is to do with our own self-image. We feel we're not properly acknowledged and we blame others for this. A lot could be said about that. There was a case in the news recently of a young man who went on a shooting rampage because he didn't seem to have much luck with women, and he was embarrassed about being a virgin. He was still in his early 20s, and being a virgin was some sort of stigma. These are all mental constructions, but his frustration expressed itself in ill will to women, but basically it ended up as ill will to the world at large, and he went on a random shooting spree. The third one is sloth and torpor. And on a personal level, I think this is one that I might be suffering from quite a bit. I have the excuse of my body being problematic in terms of being able to get around. But it seems to give me an excuse for not doing very much, not getting on with creative activity. It seems to be one that I feel I can indulge. And this is a point. We've got a certain psychology, a certain psychological disposition which probably lends itself to indulging one or more of these hindrances. And the fourth one I've got listed here is restlessness and remorse, or restlessness and worry. This is an inability to stay still, an inability to come to rest. There's always something that needs doing. something more important than this level of introspection. There's a lack of self-acceptance here. So restlessness and worry is actually not wanting to be mindful of the attention. And lastly, there's what is called doubt or lack of conviction. This is a lack of conviction or doubt about these teachings. I occasionally feel this with regard to these videos. I get bored with myself. But this is only when I'm thinking about it or when I'm not practicing. I want to dismiss myself. I want to dismiss the teachings. They're not part of where I'm at the moment. The attention is in one of these paths, one of these worlds, one of these modes of experience. It doesn't want to know about the teachings. It's getting on with what it's getting on with. Thank you very much. And I'm sure, although I remember appreciating these teachings in the past, I can't be bothered with them now. And on a mental level, we have the opportunity of remembering the Buddhas. We have the opportunity of entering into a Buddha land. It doesn't need to be a Buddha land, it could be a heavenly realm. Whatever system of inner worlds you want to associate with, it's up to you. As long as they're populated by higher beings. This is what we can be putting the attention onto, creating metaphysical landscapes. And the Mahayana Sutras are very helpful in this. So, as discrimination moves about, one is born in the various paths, and the discrimination here is obviously the work of the attention. The message here then is, be mindful of the attention. Be mindful of where it's at. Do not judge it. Do not judge it. But you can ask yourself, is this the best thing you can be doing with your attention? Is there not something more wonderful we can be contemplating? Is there not something more wonderful we can be creating? We tend to accept such a low-level return for this marvelous phenomenon which we call the attention, which is awareness. And this is in effect the suffering of samsara. It's the limitation of consciousness. When we accept such shoddy goods, when we can be dwelling in the realization of consciousness unfettered. Why do we accept anything less?